Let's face it, every magician at some point or another has struggled with taking something from the written word and translating that into a performable piece of magic. It could be misreading sleights, misunderstanding hand positions, or simply not knowing if you're doing it right. But what if a magic book could actually show you what the trick should look like? That's exactly what Calico by Rick Holcombe proposes to do. This video is going to be a discussion around this new book by Vanishing Ink, who I want you to know is my employer. I've worked for the company for the last 2.5 years, so I want you to be aware that when I talk about this, I'm talking about one of our own products. But as always, I'm going to shoot straight with you on some of the things that I liked, I didn't like, but more importantly, I want to share with you what you need to know to figure out whether this book is something that belongs in your magic library. Speaking of relevant facts, let's talk a little bit about the book itself. It is approximately 160 pages, exclusively coin magic, which we're going to talk about in this video. There are 14 different tricks and a couple of different essays, and it's all been written by Rick Holcombe. Rick is a Raleigh, North Carolina-based magician, and he's been doing magic for a long time. You may know him from his YouTube channel, and he's also released several video downloads and offers coaching for those looking to get started in coin magic. Whenever the subject of coin magic comes up, I recognize that this is not a huge branch of performing magicians within the world of magic. Most of us do some sort of card tricks, some of us do mentalism, but I feel like it's a pretty small subset of people who do coin magic. And I think there's a reason for that. I believe that the reason is because it requires a lot more technical proficiency to get it right and make it look good in front of an audience. I think sometimes this niche subject matter manifests itself in the fact that there aren't all that many coin magic books out there. I think all of us as erudite magicians could probably name most of the big tomes that we know of in coin magic. Modern Coin Magic by Bobo, Coin Magic by Richard Kaufman, Expert Coin Magic about David Roth's magic written by Richard Kaufman, and then of course Rubinstein's Coin Magic. There are a handful of other books out there, but those are kind of some of the big ones that we all know. This book, I don't think, tries to compete with any of those. All of those are much larger and more varied types of coin magic. This book focuses in on Rick's work, which is pulling from a lot of these classics that we know and love, but he's trying to eke out a little bit more magic out of each one of them. Many of the routines use copper and silver type coins, occasionally mixing in another coin like a Chinese coin with a hole in it, something brass or a little bit different colored. And many of these routines have to do with the colors themselves changing, but hopefully in ways that are clearer to your audience than the typical copper-silver type routines. So what can you expect out of these routines? Why is this book any different than any of the other magic books out there? This is Rick's original handlings of different magic tricks with coins, but one of the things that I noticed, and he points out at the beginning, is that he strives to go for tricks that have a more complete feeling to them, a very specific beginning, middle, and end. He's not just trying to do quick tricks with coins. He wants to give the audience a full experience of appreciating the magic and artistry that goes into good coin magic. On top of that, he'll often point out to you at the beginning of each chapter how you might structure a routine of these coin tricks, performing one and then following it up with another, and how they might naturally flow into each other. So while it doesn't have the size of some of the other books that we know and love about coin magic, it does give you a different flavor than what you might find there. Let's talk for a second about the layout of the book. Each trick starts off with the effect telling you exactly what you can expect from this magic after you've learned all the sleights and put in the work. Next, he goes into credits, if any are due, what his inspiration was, or why he decided to go in this specific direction. The requirements is the third section, showing you whether you'll need any kind of gaffes or gimmicks, and we'll talk a little bit more about the types of standard gaffes and gimmicks you'll expect to have for getting everything out of this book. And then finally, he takes you through the handling, complete with all of the sleights that you'll need to understand for the most part, as well as his beats and discussion. What are some of the things that I liked about this book? Well, I think that it has a pretty good variety to it, other than the fact that it's all coins. If you look at it, he has some flurries, some coins through table, coins across, hanging coins type of thing, a version of Copsil Brass from Jeff Latta. So there's some really cool coin tricks that you can learn from this book. And more importantly, I really love the fact that he included video demonstrations of how each trick should look. In my mind, this is the future of magic books. A little bit of that hybrid learning approach where maybe you really love having a book, something you can pull off the shelf, flip through, smell the pages, and even study it while you're with your family or around other people where it's not disruptive, you don't have headphones in, you're able to just sit down and engage with the written word. However, if you are struggling to understand a specific concept or know how something should look, you can quickly and easily access the video and watch the creator and author himself walk you through exactly what it should look like. What do you think? Is this the future of magic books, or should we strictly be able to learn from the texts? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. This episode of Erudite Magic is brought to you by Don's Magic and Books. If you don't already know, Don is a magic book dealer based out of the Minneapolis, Minnesota area and has been a partner of this channel for many years. The reason for that is because he offers such amazing products, magic books, at tremendous deals. He has the latest and greatest books like Calico, which will be on his website this week, but he also offers all kinds of magic books that are hard to find, maybe even out of print. And all of them are at tremendous prices. In fact, most of the time when Don gets in a book that's rare or out of print, he does some research to see what the value is out there in the market, and then he backs off of that price to list it on his website. Because what he really cares about is ensuring that magic books stay in circulation for as long as possible. Who doesn't love a guy like that? So if you support that kind of a mission and want to see magic books remain in circulation with magicians for as long as possible, then check him out via the link I'm going to drop down in the description below and shop at his website this week. Thanks, Don, for sponsoring this week's episode of Erudite Magic. Now, let's talk for a second about some of the things that I thought could have been done better in this book. One is on the sleight front. This book does assume that you know quite a bit about coin magic already. In my opinion, you already need to know things about the classic palm, a retention vanish, maybe even some click passes. Now, Rick is going to teach you his versions of the sleights, and a lot of those are taught up front. He'll reference those, but then there were also a lot of other sleights that were referenced throughout the book where he gives you brief explanations of how to do it. But ultimately, if you really want to know the details of those moves, it's going to require another investment. And on top of that, I felt like it would have been really nice with a book like this to have a small index in the back. Something where once Rick had described a technique or some sort of sleight and then referenced it later in the book, he usually didn't repeat the explanation, he just referred you back to previously. But if it wasn't one of his original sleights, it's not in the table of contents, so you have to remember exactly where you saw that sleight referenced before. Now, this is a small nitpick because, again, all of the sleights are taught, and if you're reading through the trick in the context of it, you're not going to have any trouble following along and learning it. I just thought that it would have been nice to have a little bit more information in the back about where I could learn more about those sleights or where they were already referenced and briefly taught within the pages. To get the most out of this, you are going to need a couple of gimmicks. Several of the tricks use nothing more than sleight of hand and a couple of coins, but there are a few really great pieces that will require either a copper silver coin or a shell of some kind. Again, if you're into coin magic already, it's highly likely that you already have these items, but if not, you can get them fairly inexpensively to help you to perform everything that you want to. My recommendation is that if you're interested in coin magic and you're thinking about getting this book, then purchase the book, read through it, understand which of the routines you might like to, watch the video and see if it feels like something you could see yourself performing, and then make the decision whether or not you want to make the additional investment into some of these gimmicks that might be required to perform everything. You might be asking, what about the practicality of these? Well, Rick has clearly performed all of these routines multiple times, and based on the fact that he has videos where he's sharing with you exactly how they should look, you know that he knows how to perform them. If you like performing close-up for people, that's what most of this is. He's designed it to be a couple of feet away from your participants, so while you do have the typical restrictions of angle issues as any coin magic would, this is all designed to be done close up with friends, and you'll have no problem actually performing this material if you put in the work. Because of that, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 on the practicality scale. The reason I'm giving it an 8 instead of a 10, while it is completely practical, most of this material cannot be performed surrounded, so as long as you understand what you're getting and you're used to coin magic, then this is going to perform exactly as practically as you think it would. Let's talk about the value prop of the book. Most of what you're getting has to do with the 14 magic tricks that you're going to learn. There are a couple of essays as well, but I don't feel like there's anything earth-shattering there. There's some neat thoughts that Rick is sharing, but I don't think anything that's going to rock your world. So if you're buying this, it's mostly for the magic tricks that you think you're going to perform. The book at full retail is $45, which for 14 routines doesn't seem too bad. This is certainly less than the price of many of the latest magic book releases, which have pushed up closer to that $60 mark. However, bear in mind that this book is only 161 pages and has some fairly generous illustration sizes. Given the relative shortcoming of books about coin magic, I certainly think that this does offer some value, but how much you get out of it will likely depend on how serious you are about coin magic. I think that if you like coin magic, and if you want to learn some versatile coin magic that can be performed close up for your friends, family, coworkers, or whatever, then I think that you will get some value out of it. Let's talk about the artistic merit. All 14 of the tricks are supplemented with line drawings done by the author himself, which is a really nice touch. Between the text, the illustrations, and the videos that are included, you'll have no problem learning any of these routines as long as you're willing to put the work in. Other than the cover, there really isn't any other color in the book. It's mostly black and white or more of that monochromatic look. That said, I am going to give this a 6 out of 10 on the artistic merit front due to the fact that I like the size of the drawings. And little Easter egg for you, if you look at the illustrations and the numbers that go with them that are mentioned in the text, the numbers move along the base of the picture so that you know exactly how long the routine is or about how far into the illustrations you are. Now, who would benefit from a book like this? I will say that this should not be your first coin magic book. There are a handful of sleights taught at the beginning of the book. These are Rick's versions of some classic sleights like a retention vanish or a click pass or things of that nature. If you already are lost by the terminology that I'm throwing out, then this book isn't for you. I believe that Rick assumes that you've already studied some of the basics of coin magic like Bobo's New Modern Coin Magic and or some of the other books I referenced at the beginning like Richard Kaufman's Coin Magic. Certainly if you've never touched a coin magic book and you're focused in more on cards or mentalism, then this is going to read a little bit like a foreign language for you. Therefore, I'm giving this a solidly advanced rating. Like any coin magic, the difficulty of the routines themselves is going to require you to actually put some work in. But that's where this book differs from so many other magic books that are out there. Because sometimes when you read a magic book, and specifically coin magic, it can be really hard to know exactly what this is supposed to look like. This book solves that problem and potentially offers an opportunity for so many other magic books to plus up the value to you, the reader. And that is that there are videos of every single routine included. Now, these videos are not explanations. Instead, they are focused on the performance. Rick is performing each one of these so that you know that they're practical, usable pieces, and more importantly, how they should look to your audience. So, what they offer is a valuable supplement to what you're already learning from the written pages. And by the way, I will add, you can learn all of these routines using nothing more than the book. But if you're the kind of magician who likes to know what this should look like, then you can for every single one of the routines, which I think is a big plus. I know a lot of you aren't coin magic aficionados, so I would encourage you, if you haven't thought about what you could gain from reading books outside the normal type of magic book that you read, then check out the link that I have for you over here. I think you'll benefit greatly from reading outside your normal reading habits. As always, my friend, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, keep reading.